Today we're going to be breaking down my top tips for how to be a successful collector here in 2024. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I've been collecting Funko Pops for over 10 years now, and throughout my 10 years experience, I've come into a lot of situations that ended on a positive note and some things that didn't go so well. So today we're going to be breaking down my top tips for how to successfully collect, specifically Funko Pops and other types of collectibles here in 2024. And the first tip, and this arguably might be the most important tip, but it's a conversation us as collectors need to be having more of, and that is create and stick to a budget. Every single month you need to figure out how much money you can allocate to collecting Funko or whatever other hobby you're into. Figure out your bills, your expenses, how much you want to put into savings, and then determine the amount of money that you want to spend on this hobby every single month. Within that budget that you have for collectibles, I highly suggest breaking it down into a few tiers. You need to have your monthly budget, but you also need to put money aside for that big grail, that white whale, that holy moly item that's going to come along once in a blue moon. You want to be able to have that money set aside for that item when it does inevitably show up on the marketplace. And 9 times out of 10, no matter what item you're chasing, no matter how rare or how expensive, it will pop up at some point. You just want to make sure that you have the funds that you can allocate towards that item when that opportunity presents itself. Now, specifically when talking about Funko, there's 2 other time periods that I highly suggest you guys put a little money aside for, and that is San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. These 2 events happen every single year. It's gonna happen. Funko is going to have exclusives. They have exclusives for some other cons here and there, but San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con are the 2 major events that you can always count on every single year, and you want to make sure you have money saved up come July and come October, so if Funko drops a bunch of exclusives that you want to pick up for your collection, once again, you have the funds to do so. The next tip that I want to talk about very briefly is space, and I think this is something that a lot of collectors overlook or even forget about when either building a collection from brand new or reassessing the collection you currently have and wanting to expand upon it, and that of course is space. We as people are limited in the space we have in wherever we live, reside, or work that we allocate for our collection, no matter who you are, whether it's an apartment, a house where you have a basement or a man cave or a woman cave or wherever you put your collectibles, we are all limited by space. And now I want everyone to assess your current collection and figure out if you actually have space to grow or if you need to downsize, which is completely okay, by a few items here or there so that you can have that space back for items that you're going to want to pick up here in 2024. And I guarantee you, no matter what hobby, no matter what collectible you're interested in, there's going to be things that drop this year that you're going to want to pick up. Now, the next tip that I want to throw your guys' way is something that I've actually been doing every single year since about 2015, and it's actually something that's really helped me. It's helped keep me focused on my goals and what I want my collection to look like, and that is something that I want everyone to do right now here in the month of January, and that is create a list. I would say anywhere from 5 to 20 items, no more than 20 because it could definitely get a little bit out of hand if you have too many, but I would sit down and narrow it down to 5 to 20 items that you want the most for your collection. This way, as you're going through the year and Funko, or whatever other company you're following, as they're dropping items throughout the year, you're gonna get distracted from that main list. So you're gonna wanna do something as you go throughout the year. You wanna come back to this list pretty consistently and realize, are you checking things off that list? Or have you completely abandoned it and maybe that list of items wasn't really things that you wanted? Now, if these items, which they should be your top wants, they should supersede a majority of items that come out this year. So when something drops and you're tempted to buy it, you go, no, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna stick to this list that I'm working on. And then what's really fun is come December, at the end of the year, you can actually compare the items that you currently have in your collection to this list that you started out with in January, and you can see how well did you do, how closely did you stick to your goals, or did you get really distracted and you kind of just went on a different path, which is also okay. But at the end of the day, I I've gotten a lot of satisfaction as a person and as a collector by sticking to my wish list for the year as closely as possible. Another thing that we need to talk about, and I think this is a huge thing that everybody needs to keep on the forefront of their mind, especially now here in 2024 with the current state of the economy and just the market of collectibles and everything, and that is pay attention and take advantage of every sale you possibly can. So we've seen a lot of sales from a lot of different companies, especially Funko in 2023, and that's going to continue here in 2024 as they're currently having a pretty good soda sale over on Funko's website. If you actually buy 2 Funko sodas from the ones that they've flagged as part of the sale, you'll get one free, which is really good because most sodas are $18 retail, so now buying 2 and getting one free, you're basically getting 3 sodas at their original retail price when they first hit the market at $12. But you also need to take advantage of their reward system as well as cashback websites like Rakuten. I absolutely love Rakuten. I started promoting it on the channel here a few months ago because I wanted to give you guys another opportunity to earn some money back on purchases you're already going to make. Sites like Rakuten are completely free to join, and they usually offer 2% cash back on Funko.com purchases. Now, when you're talking about 2%, it's really not that much in the grand scheme of things, but if you're going over to Funko's website anyway, and you earn an extra $1 or $2 every time you make a purchase, I bet most of you watching by the end of the year will have racked up anywhere from $50 to $100 easily. In 2023, Joanna and I racked up over $500 in rewards points by the end of the year, which was pretty crazy. So definitely take advantage of sales, rewards, and cashback. The next brief thing that I want to quickly touch upon is pre-ordering. Now, pre-ordering has been somewhat of a sore subject over the past few years because of the pandemic and a lot of companies' delays with logistics and everything. There was a lot of companies that did not fulfill pre-orders, so I think a lot of collectors shied away from it, us included. For a while, we did not pre-order anything. However, I think there are a couple good companies out there who you can pre-order from, and I actually encourage people to do so because when you buy from these good companies, like I'll give you an example, Ralphie's Funhouse, you know you're guaranteed to get that item, and sometimes you'll actually get that item for a cheaper price if you buy it up front. Also with pre-ordering, I actually think it's better to be more financially savvy if you actually pay for that item up front. If you don't pay for that item up front and you pre-order it, it's going to charge your card or charge your account later on down the road, and sometimes it could be when you're least expecting it, and it could also be at a time where you don't have a lot of slush money in your account. So I think paying for that item up front, although it may sound a little weird because you're not going to get that item for maybe 3, 6, or 12 months, I actually think it's better in the long run because going back to the first point that we talked about in this video, it helps you keep track of your money and stick to your monthly budget. Now, speaking of sticking to your monthly budget, this next tip that I want to give you guys is something that I've seen going on over the past few months, and I haven't given you my true thoughts yet on it, but here we go. And I think it's very important because it's probably going to be contradictory to what you're hearing from other sellers and other companies here in the community, and that is do not use any of these buy now, pay later, apps or websites or services or anything like that. And I'll give you a couple good examples. So Whatnot is a fantastic marketplace. We sell on Whatnot. I love buying on Whatnot, but as of a few months ago, they started introducing this option called Klarna, where you can actually buy the item and then it breaks it up into several payments, and then once you've paid for the item, then you will get it. I highly discourage people from using that because it might put you in a bind, or it might stretch your budget to where you might not be able to afford that item. I'll give you another example. Another app that I absolutely love, and it's another great marketplace, is Mercari. Mercari also started using a service called Zip, once again, where you can buy the item, it breaks it up into payments, and then, once you're finished paying off that item, then you get the item. The problem with this is even if you have the money and even if you're able to break it up into payments and pay the payments on time and get the item, that might work for some people. But if you miss one of these payments, you could be facing a late fee as well as up to 37% interest, which is something that they're not going to advertise up front. It is a little number in the fine print that no one is talking about. So if you end up missing a payment and then having to pay a late fee on top of a hefty interest payment, you are now paying up to 3 times as much potentially for that item had you just paid for it up front. So even though there's a lot of people out there who are probably really good at making payments, I don't think it's the best plan of action because I think there's a lot more opportunity for people to get in trouble and to completely obliterate that monthly budget that you've worked so hard to keep throughout the year. So that's why I highly discourage people from using buy now, pay later opportunities and services. So this next topic that I'm going to address really quick is actually something that we've gotten a lot of questions about throughout the last 2 years specifically, so I'm going to address it right here, and that is in regards to Prototype Pops and AP sodas. Now, Funko overall as a company has released very little information about Prototype Pops. You guys have probably seen them on Facebook Marketplace pages as well as other people selling them throughout the community. These items are typically given away by Funko or sold at charity events, and that is pretty much the only source that I recommend you guys to get them from. If you're getting them from Funko, like I actually got a prototype Captain America Chase soda when I went to Fright Night back in 2022 for New York Comic Con. I got it directly from Funko at the event, so I know that prototype is legit. Now, I know there's some people out there who have connections and can trace the lineage for prototypes. If you buy a proto from somebody that you feel comfortable with and they can trace the lineage and you feel confident that that is the true story, by all means, go for it. Now, on the flip side, there's also this thing called an artist-proof soda. These have been around since shortly after sodas came to be. However, there is just so many of them on the market, and there's absolutely no information that Funko has given to us as the community as to where they come from, how many there are, if they're legit or not, and that's why I highly discourage anybody from buying an AP soda unless you're 1000% confident that the source you're buying from is selling you a legit artist-proof soda. Now, from what I know about artist-proof sodas, the POG is different because the POG will have a little AP lettering. They won't have a number associated with it. And then there's also supposed to be some sort of different variation with the figure itself. Now, some of these variations are so minuscule, it's very difficult to tell. And with the amount of AP sodas being sold by so many different people in the community, I find it very suspicious. And because of that, I will pretty much never buy an AP soda, and I have not heard of or seen Funko actually give these away at any sort of event. So because of that, and because there's no information that's coming from a reliable source, I would highly discourage anybody for buying an AP soda, especially at the prices that a lot of these people are charging. And for my last big tip on how to be a successful collector here in 2024, this is by all means the most important one, probably a little bit more than the budgeting, and that is get out to some sort of event, interact with the community, and have fun. One of the best things that I've taken away from this hobby and from this community is the relationships that I've built with so many amazing people. And I've even been fortunate enough to go to some of these really big cons like New York Comic Con and Niagara Falls Comic Con, and I've had an absolute blast. However, you do not have to go to one of these big events where Funko has a company presence. I've gotten so much enjoyment and fulfillment by just going to some local toy shows and some pop swaps and meeting up with some fellow collectors at flea markets. It's an absolute blast. So don't be, dissuaded. You do not have to go to one of these big events. You do not have to shell out hundreds of dollars for a plane ticket to then go to one of these events that's going to cost you a lot to get in the door, plus the hotel and everything. if you just join some Facebook groups, keep your ear to the ground, and start getting into the Funko community, I bet you there are some Funko events or some at least collecting centered events in your hometown, or maybe even at a town over or somewhere within driving distance that you can go enjoy a day trip and meet some other people who are just as passionate about pop culture and collecting the thing that we all know and love. So guys, let me know down in the comments section below, what do you think of these tips? Is there anything else that you think would help other collectors? Definitely drop it down in the comments. Let's start a great conversation and let's have an amazing year here in 2024. I'm super excited and I want everyone to be a successful collector. I want you to get the items that you truly want for your collection without breaking the bank, because that's what it's all about. I want everyone to be financially strong, and I want us to have more of these conversations so we can continue to help each other and look out for each other in every way possible. If you want to join the conversation even further, I'm going to be live tonight on Professor Josh's channel for Pop Force 1 along with Vince from the Poppin' Duo. We'd love to have you guys over on tonight's live stream starting out at 9 p.m. Eastern. We talk about all things Funko, everything going on in the Funko community, news, leaks, rumors, drama, you name it, we cover it all, and we'd love to have you join. So Professor Josh's channel at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. Cannot wait for the stream. As always, it's always a great time. So guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, don't stop shooting until you score, and let's crush it here in 2024.